Just warming up this evening for the WTRL Zwift Racing League Stage 5. This is the Syco-list. Let's get on with it. So here we are then, stage 5 of the WTRL Zwift Racing League. The course tonight is the Keith Hill after party in London. The majority of the climbing on this one comes at the end of the course as we make our way from London out into the Surrey Hills. Racing this evening and representing Level Racing Esports, team of 5 of us in this one. So the plan for me was to sit in the pack for as much as I could, because I knew that this race wasn't going to start off as rapid as other races have done in previous weeks. So it's just a case of sitting in, staying with this group. And I know around about just after 2 miles into this race, the Northumberland Avenue, there's a slight ramp kicker there that I just wanted to try and hold the pack for that one, make an effort over the top of it to stay with the group. And then from there it's fairly flat. So as this race this evening is a points race, there was FTS and FAL points available. Obviously FTS stands for fastest through the segment and FAL stands for first across the line. So those points were available on the Mal Reverse Sprint and also the Keith Hill KOM, which is a bit of a weird one to have points on, but the final climb has got points available. So those were 2 to be mindful of. So my plan, sit in the pack, hold some wheels, get the draft benefits on the London streets and save some energy before we head out to the Surrey Hills. But like I said, Northumberland Avenue, which is about to come up shortly, I'd sort of marked it as soon as we got under this bridge that we're heading towards now. It's going to be a right hand turn and then a kicker. So I'm just moving myself to the position I wanted to be in, which is probably nearer to the front. So as the pack did come past me climbing the hill, I'd get the draft boost again. So as you can see, I've just pushed myself to the front, knowing what was coming up on the course. And as we take this right hand bend, I sort of get on the pedals a little bit and sit in and use some of the draft boost to get over the top, and then make sure that I just push over the top and get onto that descent without being dropped, which I've managed quite well here, just pushing through the top now and out on the other side. So that was the first little hurdle I wanted to do, but as you can see, average watch at the moment, sort of just over 6 minutes into this, is under 300 average, which normally in Zwift races you're sort of 310, 320 at this point. So the pack's being a bit more reserved. I don't think many things will go off the front, and if they do, they'll probably get chased down. But I can really see the Surrey Hills is going to be what's going to sort of divide this group later on. So here we are making our way down towards the sprint now. The pack is starting to make a few moves, the power has increased slightly as well. So we're just going to head down towards the sprint now, which is going to be a slight right and then left. And it is a really short sprint. But when I did the recce of this, I was just mindful that it's like a false flat after the sprint section. And I was going to have to stay on the pedals after the sprint just to try and get through that and get to the next sort of part of the course without being dropped. So here we go, everyone's dropping their aero boosts. I join the party a little bit here, the sprint starts and I'm starting to move up. So I go through there about 26th place, but I'm just staying on the pedals, keep pushing here. I've gained my feather up, power up for later on, but I was just mindful I didn't want to get dropped off and I didn't want to lose the front of this race. Normally after these sprint segments, people just keep going off the front and a gap sort of forms. So just wanted to stay with it, which I've done quite well there. Stayed with that front group, and as we turn the next few bends, the race settles back down again and the whole group comes back together. Again, whilst racing on this one, I am using source on my other monitor in the garage, in the pain cave, to look at my data and sort of who's around me and what power and everything everybody else is putting out. So it's handy to use as a backup screen with all that data on. It sort of means I can monitor more what I'm doing and how things are going. It also gives me where the segments start and finish as well, and where riders around me are and the gaps and everything like that. So it's really handy, definitely worthwhile using it whilst racing. So yeah, back onto sitting in the group again, not really doing too much. A few little gaps do open, a few people do try and go off the front, but the pack is so quick in closing it down. It was like I didn't need to do any work to do that. I can just gain the draft boost by them coming past. So yeah, just really happy at the moment, 11 miles into this. Obviously the final sort of 3-4 miles is all going to be uphill, and that's where I need to sort of save my energy and get ready for that later on. So I've had a few questions about my winter training program and why I'm racing so much on Zwift. Well, I actually find that racing on Zwift is really beneficial to me. It makes me do some of my higher intensity efforts in a competitive manner because I don't like to be beaten and I like to work hard. So when you're in Zwift races, you tend to hit some of your higher figures, and this race this evening I've managed to achieve some of my PBs for the last 3 months. So I'm happy where my power figures are. I still do my structured other training as well, but I normally have an hour-long race within the week, just to try and hit some of these power figures that I'm working towards and keeping my VO2 max up really. So that's the reason why I do it. I know that I've just come off the back of a week's tour series and there'll be another one in January, but I just find that they help me sort of work and manage my fatigue as well off the bike and get me ready and prepared for 2025. So as we head down here and in under this bridge, I knew as we go through this tunnel that the other side there is a rise out of it. So I was just mindful of that. The group started to string out a little bit, so I've just put a bit of effort in to try and close down some of the gaps and get nearer the front, because this rise out here could have caught us out and could have started to divide the race up. So I've pushed through on that first section to get up nearer to the front, sort of getting up to 7th place, 6th place there, and then realised that I didn't really want to have to chase too much. Those 4 riders in front, they haven't really gone anywhere, so I've just sort of matched their sort of pace and held with them as the rest of the pack rejoined. So that was just one ramp that I was mindful of that might have caused a few issues in the race, but it seems like this group's really holding together. People are moving off the front slightly, but we are bringing them back and sort of working to keep them in our sight. So I can see this heading out to the Surrey Hills as a mass group. I think on my other screen it said that there was 51 riders in this pack out of 63, so that's not bad going. I thought we might have dropped a few other riders there, but as you can see again, it strings out here, a few riders going off the front, pace picks up, over 300 watts here, just to bring them back. So I think it was about 4 or 5 that have tried to make a jump there, but within 20-30 seconds that's been sort of stamped out. The group have pulled back across as we come along the Thames now. Someone there using their Featherweight for some reason. Seems a bit of a waste when we've got the Surry Hills to come. But yeah, any move that's gone has been brought back, and I've tried to do it without doing any work myself, which is quite nice. Trying to save some energy for those hills at the end. Again, here in the tunnel, knowing that there's going to be a rise out of the tunnel, as there always is on Zwift. I've just moved to the front, just holding the wheels, and hopefully just sit with this as it takes this 2-3% rise out of the tunnel. So the race at the moment is doing really well. I'm happy with how I've worked and positioned this. That rider there has just gone off the front and someone's trying to attack it. There was a few other teams that looked like they were working really well together and holding positions well. And our team, unfortunately, we had one drop out due to connection issues. I think one dropped off after the sprint section, which left 3 of us in the group here as we sort of move through this. But really it was just going to come down to being in this front group as we get to the bottom of the Surrey Hills, and that was my intention all along, and then just see how we can manage the hill. So here we go then, out into the Surry Hills now. This is something that I was just mindful of when I did the recon, that I did break this down into like 4 sections. The first bit here isn't actually on the Hill KOM section, so I knew that if I could just hold this group, we were going to turn left before we got to that real steep rise. I'm not sure if people had done the recon or not, so they might not have known that, so they might have just backed off a little bit. But I knew that we were turning left here, so that I could just stay on the wheels of the people in front of me. After the first part of this climb, there is a short sort of descent which you could get a bit of respite in. But this is the start of the Hill KOM here. Somebody there's gone really early with their featherweight. It's 2.7 miles in length, this one, at 5% average gradient. So my watts per kilo probably aren't going to help me on this, but I had in my head if I could hold sort of 300 watts going up this hill, I'd be happy with that. So as you can see, starting to drift back already. But I wasn't too sort of bothered about that because I knew that I had to sort of stick with my own game. What I've tried to do here is just try and hold this group to the top of this first section so that I could take the descent with them. But as you can see, I'm sort of putting out nearly 400 watts at times and sort of not really gaining on them. They're quite happily sitting at 5 watts per kilo, but looking on my other screen, their watts that they're outputting aren't anywhere near mine. So it's just sitting on this rider now in front of me who has been dropped a little bit as well. So just trying to see if I could work with these other riders as they come through. But then we're on to the second part of the climb, which sort of 6-7% to start with, and then it just gradually rises into 8s and 9s and 10%. So I just then decided to stick with my plan that I'm in 33rd place at the moment, and if I can hold sort of 300 watts for the final mile and a half of this climb, I'd be happy with that. So it's just a case of don't worry about who's around you, just try and sit in, put out the watts that you're comfortable with doing, and see if you can get over the top. If you can gain some places near the top, then great, but just sit in. So I think the face says it all in the camera really, that I'm hot, sweaty, and definitely putting in the watts to try and stay with this. So just getting past there by that rider, and he's quite easily, we're both putting out 4 watts per kilo, but he sort of gets away from me here, and to be honest, I let him go. I'm still doing over 300 watts and I let him just gap me here. As you can see, he moves away, he starts putting seconds into me, and there's not really a lot I can do. The rider there on my shoulder's just come up to me as well, and after that they're sort of 10-14 seconds behind me. But that rider that's just passed me already has got 2 seconds in me. I've held on to my featherweight for quite a while because my plan was, I'd always decided I was going to use it near this bridge that we're approaching for the final kick over the top of the hill, and gain the 30 seconds boost there. So I've let that rider have 7 seconds on me now. So he's really putting his effort in and getting away. That gap's now up to 8 seconds, and I need to react to that if I want to try and close that gap, but I've probably let the gap go too far in all honesty. I've held on to the featherweight even longer now. There you go, featherweight's in, and this is where I decide that I'm going to put in an effort. Over 400 watts here. Just thought if I did a minute of effort, I might be able to close the gap. So that 9-second gap, and I've closed it down. Coming up onto that wheel now, second left. So I've caught him and we're on the flatter section. But when I get here, he's aware that I've arrived, and as soon as I get to him, he starts to sprint. I try another little dig, and as soon as I do that, he puts down the power and pulls away from me, and I've got nothing left in my legs to attack him with. So there you go, 33rd place. Average watts 284.
Well, there you go then, just cooling down after stage 5, Keith Hill after party. I was happy with the result of that one. If you've liked this video, please click that like button, click that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one.